Hi, everybody, and thank you for joining me. We are in the middle of chapter 39. So just a short introduction, and some of the discussion is a repeat for the last two lessons, but it's worthwhile because I've discovered when I prepared tonight, I've discovered a lot of depth into the discussion. Chapter 39 is one of the lengthiest chapters. In it, the first part, so the rabbi discusses the four universes. There are four universes. In the first part, the rabbi is talking about the world of Yetzirah, the second one, and Beria. Now the rabbi is talking about the top universe, the first one, Atzilut, and later on in the same chapter, he's going to talk about Asiya, the lowest one. So let's just summarize the four universes first, and then we can move on. We discussed, the rabbi began this discussion by telling us that action is what counts. Serving God with the study of Torah, like we do tonight, serving God with performance of mitzvot is the only way to achieve our goal. No way to skip that part. However, if we have intention, proper intention, we give life to the action. Action without intention is like a dead body. You created a body, but there is no life. What kind of intention can we have? We have two types. One, a natural intention. I'm here to serve God and do as He wishes. And by doing so, I'm awakening my hidden love and fear of God. That elevates the mitzvah to the one world up, to Yetzirah, to the world of, what do we call Yetzirah? Formation. If I have awoken intention after contemplation and using my intelligence to realize what God does for me and how much I'm indebted to Him, then the mitzvah is done in a much deeper level of intention, and it elevates the soul one world higher to the world of creation. That's the start. The rabbi explains that generally speaking, the angels live in the world of formation. The souls live in the world of creation, which is one above. There are few angels in the higher level. There are souls when they use only emotions and natural love, that their mitzvot, they reside in the formation. So far, so good. Are we clear?
No, I thought most of them are in formation, but on Shabbos and those codes,
I didn't say most. It depends on who. You can, you talk about yourself. That's one way. Assuming that a person will have the proper intention, the neshama elevates to a much higher level. Those that are in the world of formation, on Shabbat, there is the pole by which they can elevate and connect to God. So far, so good. The rabbi now is going to talk about the other world, Atzilut. So before we start Atzilut, and the rabbi actually started a little bit, we studied a little bit, but I want to go over it and cover it to a much deeper level. By the way, the four universes are all inclusive in so many areas of Kabbalah that it will assist you in understanding many other aspects, and we will cover and use some examples. Like everything in Kabbalah, every aspect in our existence has the yin and the yang, the internal and the external. Do you understand that? There is something we call the essence, and the other that is the jacket, the external aspect. Let's talk about me. We had an entire lesson on that in another JLI recently. Me, when I say myself, it's not my body, because my body age changes, and me will continue living even after my body is put to rest. My body is an external part of me. My emotions, my intelligence is a garment. We call it garment because it's external, like a jacket, like a suit, like a dress. You can take it off and put something else. I can change. My essence don't change. Do you understand that there is an external and internal? In every one of the four universes, there is an external part and the internal part. The internal part are the 10 attributes. The 10 attributes is the DNA of everything. So there are 10 attributes. That's the essence, the soul, the neshama of the universe, each universe. The 10 attributes are the soul, are my soul. And then there is the external, the souls that reside in the universe, the angels who reside in the universe. My body part are external to my soul. So you have the 10 attributes, is the DNA, the essence, and you have the other aspects of the universe, which is external. They can connect, they can be separated, but you have the internal and the external. The 10 attributes, when I say they are internal, it's godly. The other parts are connecting to God, but they are not God themselves. Is that clear, Leon? Okay. Says the rabbi. I have many body parts. I have thought, speech, and action. I have senses. I have 5 senses. All that is an external added to my soul. My soul is the essence. Everything else is added to it. So the soul can interact, can live, can survive the universe. So when I study Torah, when I perform a mitzvah, I connect to the Torah in an external way. Do you understand that? Because how do I study Torah? With my intelligence. How do I perform my mitzvah? With my hand, with my feet. It's all external. The Torah itself is internal. Let me use an example. The Talmud tells us, the Medrash tells us, that Torah cannot be defiled. God's Torah can never be defiled. A human can be defiled. If I'm under the roof of a dead corpse, I am defiled. If someone is sitting in the room undressed, I'm forbidden from studying Torah because there is a barrier between me and God. If I am unclean, I'm in a bathroom, or my body is not clean enough, it's forbidden to study Torah. So people who have a bag, unfortunately, there's a whole debate whether they're allowed to study Torah, whether they're allowed to be called to the Torah. Why? Because you need to have a clean body to study Torah or to perform a mitzvah. The Torah itself, there are no conditions. The Torah is pure all the time, all day and night, no matter where. So if the Torah is found in a, God forbid, a dumpster, if the Torah is found beneath the ground, it has the same holiness, the same honor and reverence than as if it is in the Holy Ark. Do you understand that? Is that clear? Why? Because a human being connects to God on an external level. The Torah is the DNA of God. Because it's the DNA of God, it's internal, it can never be separated from God. So no matter what, the Torah is always there. A human being, it's conditional. When you connect to God the way God wants, you can study Torah. So if right now my mouth is filled with non-kosher food, it's a sin to study Torah. If I'm not dressed, it's a sin to study Torah. If my body is not clean, that's an example. Or there are times when it's forbidden to study Torah. Tisha B'Av, you're not supposed to study Torah. There are times, there are places we are not, in a cemetery, for example, it's forbidden to study Torah. Why? You should have come to the JLI that we talked about, the journey of the soul. But there is no place there to study Torah. Why? Yes,
You said also in the bathroom can't.
why?
You said it because it's not a clean place.
In the bathroom, you said. Of course, I just said, because it's considered a non-clean place. Even though you flush the water and you spray, the fact that it's designated for a physical activity, it's forbidden to study Torah there. That's why I have no mezuzah. In other words, the Torah it's like fire. A fire can never be, you can put off the fire, but as long as fire exists, nothing can hurt the fire. A human being, on the other hand, as I say, is conditional. Why is it important? Because a human being his connection to the Torah or to God is conditional. The Torah is unconditional. The mitzvot that a person that exists in the universe are unconditional.
Rabbi,
They'll
study Torah in the car?
Yes, why not? Assuming there is no diaper, a dirty diaper in the car. I'm not joking. I used to study Torah.
Play tapes. Tapes of whatever.
What?
People, you have tapes and discs that used to play the car.
What's wrong with studying Torah? When I was young, someone said, I'm driving in the car for, I'm a man in the same village I grew. Not everybody had a car. Today, everybody has cars. But when I grew up in the 70s and 80s, cars was only if you needed to for your business. But he said he's sitting in the car every day driving. Why shouldn't he say sound? So he went and recorded on cassette, the whole of Psalm, reciting it slowly. And he put it, then people started asking him to copy, and he shared. So he goes, he would give us lifts many times. He would say, hi, how are you? And after you're sitting down, you put your seatbelt. He would put it on. He say, I'm in the middle of reciting Psalm. So over the course of a day or 2 days, he would recite the whole Psalm. He studied Torah while he's driving. He did not break the law. I know of a rabbi, shall remain nameless, that would drive from Morristown, New Jersey to Crown Heights every day. And he had Rambam, Maimonides, that you're supposed to study. He was a very famous rabbi and very busy. So he had the books sitting next to him open. Every time he came to a traffic light, he would put on park and study. And yeshiva boys that would take a lift with him to this, they couldn't stand it because they had to wake him up before the sound of the horns from behind that it's time to move. But you can study Torah in the car. When I grew up with the kids in a minivan, not always you can study Torah, because if a child has a full diaper, it's forbidden to study Torah. Even if you don't see it, it doesn't matter. If it's within 4 cubits, 6 feet, it's not acceptable.
You can't read Psalms at a cemetery.
It's forbidden. The only exception is around a particular person and dedicated for that person. And I don't want to get into details. At the gravesite of a dear loved one, yes. But saying Psalms in general or studying Torah is inappropriate. By the way, there are people who decide that after the funeral they want to celebrate life, and they make a party at the gravesite. And it's not acceptable. I do not criticize people because as is, they are, they're not sure if I'm too strict for them. So I try to stay away. I walk away. Why? Because you're not supposed to make a blessing. If they put cakes or apples there, how are you going to consume it if you make a blessing? You're not allowed to make blessings in the cemetery. By the way, when I walk in, I have to sit outside. Before I walk to a cemetery, I hide it. Did you know that?
No.
Because I don't want to insult the souls, but that's a different topic. Let's move on. So when I study Torah or I perform a mitzvah, assuming I am elevated to a second world or the third, formation or creation. Remember, creation and formation are the topic of our discussion. My soul is not connected continuously with God. It's only connected as long as I study Torah. So that part of the study of the soul connects. But because I study the Torah, I am connecting to the essence of God, which is the 10 attributes. So what's the greatest reward of performing a mitzvah we use in the study of Torah? Is the mitzvah itself, because what it does, it gives me a a connection to God in which the soul will never be able to get by on its own. Because even if God will grant me to go to that universe, it's still God, the essence, the internal aspect, and the soul, like an angel, like the soul, is the external aspect of that universe. I cannot be the essence, the DNA of that universe. But when I study Torah, it's the DNA of the universe there. And therefore, I'm bonding with God to a much deeper degree. The outcome is a great pleasure, but don't want to get there. Did you, Elizabeth, is that too deep?
Yes.
Leon, are you able to understand?
Yeah.
That's why the rabbis say to us, the reward of a mitzvah is a mitzvah. People ask, what am I going to have out of it? What am I? The answer is, you mitzvah itself, what you do is you bond with God in a way that you couldn't bond because your connection to God is external. The mitzvah connects you to the essence. Is that clear? Can we move on? Says the rabbi. Now let's talk about Atzilut, emanation. What can anyone translate the word emanation to me? To emanate? No? Okay. A king that is sharing authority with a defense minister to decide on war, or is sharing a authority with Minister of Education to make decisions on education. What's the requirement? A king that gives or allow a health minister of health, to decide on medicine, procedure, what's the requirement. That's the idea of, this is what the word Atzilut in Hebrew means. Meaning, I am allowing, Transfer? But it's not transfer.
Delegation.
Delegation, transfer is all. But the word Atzilut is different because it's very limited to a certain way. It's to the Minister of Education, he's getting authority over education only. He has no say about transportation department. And the Minister of Transportation cannot say anything about the defense issues in war. And the other one is a foreign minister, has no say about education or health. Atzilut, the word Atzilut is not new creation, but let's call it a delegation. A delegation meaning something out or coming out and given to somebody else.
It means come out from a source,
Either
by
love it.
emitting something physical like light or a smell, or by giving off an abstract quality like a feeling or an idea.
Thank you very much. That's what emanation. In other words, the idea of new creation starts in the next universe of Beria. That's why it's called creation.
Yeah,
The next one,
to come forth,
but
joy seems to emanate from.
to emanate is something that's coming out of the source, right? Joy or brightness, light, the source of light. The light bulb emanates brightness in the room. So it does not, there is a direct correlation or connection between the source and the outcome. Why is that important? And that's why I told you I love the idea, the comparison to the 4 stages of creation of a child. The child that's born from the parents, the end result is a separate entity that can deny the parents. Prior to that, in this level of formation in the mother for 9 months, it's very hard to deny that it's from the mother because it's a mother's womb. And it's developing, but it's its own entity. It kicks, and at once, then beforehand, when it's just the seed of the father, there is something, an entity that's separated from the father. Emanation is the ability to have children. The fact that the father and mother have a gene or the hormones that can create children. There is nothing yet created. As soon as there is the seed that was created, then it's already Bria. It's a new universe. It's creation. Emanation is the opposite of creation. Emanation is to shed, to share, to emanate, to give forth something from the source. It's not new creation. Therefore, I need you to understand that there is no other entity in that universe. Souls can never reach the level of Atzilut, with some exceptions we'll discuss in a moment. Because as soon as there is a soul, the highest they can reach is Bria. Because as soon as there is a soul, it's a separate entity. It's created, and it's not emanation. Why is there emanation? So it can later create something new. But emanation itself, nothing yet was created. If something was created, is Bria, is the fourth one. Did you understand what I'm saying, Harry?
Well, if you emanate, you empower somebody, and empowering someone leads to confidence and independence and.
You are right on target. Every father and mother have a gene that enables them to create, to procreate. That's level, when God decided to create an entity that's separated from God, he needed to have to create that ability to create something separate. So first, the ability, the potential to create something. Then from that, under that, he was able to create something new. And the new thing that was created, it's like the seed of the father and the gene of the mother that connect, that starts a viability. That's a creation, but it's not a child. There's nothing there. Then it will take 9 months to develop the hands and the feet and body organs. And only the last one is when a child is created. That's why I like those four, because to me, it speaks very clear. Do you understand that? So there are 4 universes. Atzilut is not creation, emanation. Like this light emanate lights, this bulb, this LED emanate lights. It does not create something new. But if I bring in water to the table, that's a new separate from the source. I bought a jug of water, it's separate from the source. Emanation, it's connected to the source. So I can tell you for sure, I know where the light comes from the bulb, from the LED. As soon as the LED is removed from the room, there is no light. Creation is already giving room for a separate entity. Therefore, why is it important? Because you need to understand that souls of tzaddikim, a righteous man, the highest they can reach is Bria, not Atzilut. So far, so good. Harry, do you understand? Now I'll show you. You're asking me, you asked last week, how do I know? And I told you, be patient. I'm going to start showing you 2 examples that explain Torah passages, stories in the Bible, and prayer. Every morning we say Elokai, my God, Neshama shenatata bi, the soul that you have placed in me. What's the next word? Tahara here. What does Tahara here means? It's very pure. What do we say after that? Ata berasa, you have created it. Ata yitzarta, you have formed it. Ata nefachta bi, that's a siya. What happened? So what do you mean it's pure before it was created? You say, how do you explain that? Harry, you understand my question? You say the neshama, the soul you placed in me, neshama shenosata bi, tehora here. It's of pure. But right after that, you say atabarata, you have created it. You have formed it. You have blown it into my body. But what do you mean?
Pure is
The Hoiroi is Atzilut. It's 4 universes. The Hoiroi is not created. It existed before. It went through the chain of 4 universes, because those 4 universes exist. I told you, we spoke about number 4. Remember, many, many ages ago, I asked you about 4.
yes.
There are 4 universes. I told you there are 4 parts to the soul. There are 4 sons. There are many, many aspects of 4. There are 4 parts of creation. Remember? Inanimate, vegetation, animals and human. All that is 4 universes. I told you there are 4 stages of a human, right? Your physical body. I'm here to tell you every morning you talk about the 4 stages of the soul, except the soul was not created. It was emanated from God. That part, remember, remains with God. Then he created it. He created it means he loaded to the first universe of creation, Beria. Ato yetzarto yetzira, formation. Ato nefachto bi, you have pushed it into my physical body. So that you have the 4 universes. Let's see other examples. Harry, I want you to understand that because you asked me, how do you know? Now, this is the only way to explain parts of prayers and this. I want to use some other examples. So I need to add one more. Here is another example. In the world of Atzilut is called the ocean, the world of the water. The other 3 universes are called dry land. Why? Because in dry land, you can see different entities, colors. You see an entire universe. At the ocean, if I look at the ocean, you see nothing. Although it is a beautiful, wondrous universe, creation, that whatever you find on dry land, you find in the sea. Except we don't see it. The naked eye cannot see because the water covers. What does it say when Mashiach will arrive? Do you know what it says? Kamaim layom. You don't know that? The prophet Isaiah said, Umal'a haaretz de'at Hashem, the universe will fill with God's knowledge, kamaim layam mechasim, like water covers the entire ocean. What's the connection between Torah and water? The water on the ocean covers on all its creatures, and therefore they are hidden. That represent Atzilut, emanation, because there is only one, there is the water. That's why, by the way, in a mikveh, you need to have a minimum measure, 40 se'ah. 40 is divided into 4, by the way. You heard about 40 se'ah, Harry? If I had only 30 se'ah, and there is a shark or a fish in the water, the rule is that the fish are counted as part of water. You can count them as the volume of water needed for a mikveh. Why? Because the fish are nullified to the water and they are considered part of the ocean because they represent Atzilut. So if I had a pool that I need to go dip myself before I go to the holy temple to bring sacrifices, and the pool is not enough 40 se'ah, it has 35. But somebody says, the other 5, you cannot get rainwater or from the tap. You need natural water. But he says to me, but in the fish store, they sell fish from freshwater fish. We're not going to be cruel to animals. Let's put them in the pool. You can put the fish in the pool, and that volume is counted as part of the water, which is very strange, and it exists only in the fish. Here is another example. Every other creature, before we consume, it has to be kosher, it has to be slaughtered. Why? Because there's parts that are forbidden for consumption. A good example would be the blood, right? You have to get rid of blood. The sciatic nerve, a fat piece in kosher animals have to be removed. There's all kinds of restrictions. Fish, you don't need to slaughter. You can eat it, just make sure it's not alive. But you can eat it as is. The blood is not considered blood. Why? Even though it's red. My kids many times ask me, it's not blood? I say it's fish blood. Fish blood is not forbidden. Simple as that. So you don't need to salt it. That's why majority of the fish are kosher. Because they are connected to Atzilut. They represent Atzilut. Did you understand so far? So Zohar tells us that Atzilut is Nune Yama. Nun in Aramaic is fish. Nuneyama, Atzilut is like the ocean that you see only water. You don't see anything else. Although underneath there's lots of creatures, but they all know the source of their sustenance. They cannot deny that the ocean brings them oxygen. Take a fish out of the water, he's dead. That's what the prophet says, that when Mashiach will come, our level of connection to God will be like Atzilut, like the water covers the ocean. So far, so good?
A fish representing 5 seah.
Hmm?
You need more than one fish to represent 5 seah for the mikveh? Or any fish do, I mean, just any kosher fish?
What? I did not hear.
If you're missing 5 seah from the mikveh, putting a fish in there represents 5 seah?
No, the volume of 5 seah.
You gotta put a bunch of fish. Right. You just put out-
If 5 seah is about 12 cubit inches, and you took the same volume in fish, in other words, I have a mikveh, and there is a red marking that the water have to reach this level, and they are below that level, so I can't use it. I cannot make a bracha for dipping dishes. I dump, but they have to be alive, by the way. You cannot have dead fish. I dump fish, assuming it's a sweet, not a saltwater fish, and they are swimming there, and it rose to above the level. I can use it,
How many fish do you have to put in, depending on the size?
depending on the size.
What's
Elizabeth,
Size is a measurement. Size is like 2 liters. It's half a gallon.
it's a fishy still.
Now I want to move on to other topics. So therefore, very few righteous men, their soul is from Atzilut, because they have no challenge. Complete tzaddik is from Atzilut. So for example, the first one that we know about is Moshe. Why is he called Moshe? Anybody knows? Because I drew him out of water. Water in Kabbalistic terminology is Atzilut. We have Ushpizin. On Sukkot, you have guests who comes to the Sukkah. 7 nights, 7 Ushpizin, right? Avraham, Yitzchak, Yaakov, Moshe, Aaron, Yosef, and David. Joseph and David. All 7 represent one of the 7 attributes from Atzilut. That's why they come to us to give us that energy. In other words, you have many righteous men, but they don't come from Atzilut. Atzilut is a universe where you don't even care to be close to God. You are part of God. You are God. So there is no reward for doing what God wants, because reward means I enjoy, I get pleasure, and reward, getting pleasure, is already Bria. It's a separate entity. It's not God himself. Atzilut is a representation of God. That's why Moshe said, I will give you blessing. If you obey me, I will bless you. How can Moshe speak like that? Because God was speaking through Moshe's mouth. Moshe had no his own identity. It was all a conduit for God. That's why God testifies that he is the most humble man from the face of the earth. It's all about the idea of Atzilut. Harry, are you following? You know what we call those tzaddikim who come from Atzilut? We call them a chariot, Merkava. Anybody heard of the chariot? Ezekiel's chariot. So we know there are, Avraham was a chariot, Yitzchak was a chariot. Chariot has no identity of its own. You have a rider who is sitting on the top of the chariot, and he tells the chariot where to go. He tells the horses turn right, turn left. The chariot has wheels, and they just go follow the direction of the rider. That's what righteous men. So you had prophets, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, many holy men, but they were not from Atzilut. I'm not here to test, but I'm just sharing with you. The Zohar tells us what very few are neshama of Atzilut. The 7 Ushpizin, the 7 guests for Sukkot, are from Atzilut. Atzilut is emanation. It's not a separate creation, an extension of God. Therefore, they're not even looking for reward. Because if someone is looking for reward, they are separated from God. And therefore, they don't belong in Atzilut. Moshe is from Atzilut. Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov are from Atzilut. David, Yosef, and Aaron. There is a story. I have to have some stories. Reb Zusha of Anipoli, a very famous rabbi, one day he's telling his son, "Do you feel the house shaking?" And the son is quiet. He says, "You know why the house is shaking? Because someone, neshama of Atzilut, is walking by." A minute later, there was a knock on the door, and who is entering the house? The Alter Rebbe, the author of the Tanya. He is known the neshama Atzilut, by the way. A new neshama Atzilut. So the son of Reb Zusha later, when he showed the story, he says, "I did not see or felt the house shaking, but I saw how my father was shaking when this young man came." Now, the Alter Rebbe was much younger than Reb Zusha. He was the younger of the entire group. There were a group of students of the Mezritcha Maggid. Reb Zusha was much older. By the way, in the letters of approval for the Tanya before it was published, one of them is Reb Zusha. He asked Reb Zusha to write an approval for that. So Reb Zusha of Anipoli, the son says, "I didn't see the house shaking because he wasn't that holy, but he saw his father trembling from standing next to the visitor." You need to be holy enough to sense a neshama of Atzilut, but it's very rare, very, very rare. Here is an example, and then we're going to do some reading to everything I just shared with you. The story is told about someone who is non-Hasidic, a great leader of the non-Hasidic community in Russia about 120 years ago. And I know the name, but those who share the story in many, many writings they prefer not to put the name out. So I'm not going to share the name. There was a meeting with the Russian government, the Tsar, that called all the Jewish leaders into a meeting, and they used to do it a lot, to share a new decree that rabbis and Jewish community leaders must live with the time. They have to be more connected with their people. So one of the requirements they ask for is that everyone who wants to become a rabbi has to speak proper Russia language. At the time, rabbis couldn't care less about speaking Russia. They spoke Yiddish. They can get away. And the Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, stood up and he says, "No way, I will fight it, and you can take my life." That's what I said. "You can do whatever you want to me. I will not sign it, and I'll tell all the participants that listen to me." There were different rabbis, some of them were Hasidim. I'll demand that they protest against it. After the meeting, this great Lithuanian leader went to the Rebbe and he says, "Why did you do that? After all, you put your life in danger." The Russian, the Tsar, they didn't like people who do not follow their desire. And if they could have taken your life and they don't have to give an accounting. And after all, it's not a sin to study a foreign language. And the Rebbe says to him, "I felt it was opposing heavenly fear of heaven, requiring the rabbi to study the language will cause the fear of heaven to be weakened." So the other rabbi, turned to him and says, "Where did you get it from? Where does it say in code of law that studying another language will make you not so much fear in God?" And the Rebbe Rashab said to him, "That's how I felt. That's the way I felt. Because when I was turning bar mitzvah, I trained my body to always do what code of law and what God wants, and to run away from something that's opposing to God. And my body reacted very violently to this ruling, so I know for sure it is totally unacceptable, to a point even if I have to give up my life." That rabbi, upon hearing it, turned to him and he says, you know, I will obey and vote with you on every single decree or topic, because he realized that the Rebbe had trained his body to do as God wants, and it should come naturally without any barrier, without any hesitation. This is, I don't know if the Rebbe Rashabu is from Atzilut or not. It's not my business. It's not my place to speak. Who am I? I don't even know about my soul. But the idea that the Rebbe was trained that there is no barrier between God's desire and myself is what Atzilut is all about. It's emanation. It's not a new creation. And therefore, it's on a totally different scale. So we're going to go back to put it together. Until tonight, we discovered Yetzirah, formation, the second universe, and Beria, the third universe, creation. Today, the topic is Atzilut. Atzilut is emanation. It's God's new creation, but it was emanated from God. Therefore, there are no entities. There is nobody there. There are very few souls who are there, but that's because they are so connected to God that they have no identity of their own. Therefore, they do not even get rewarded for their deeds, because if someone gets rewarded for what they do, it means they are separated from God. Therefore, they sense the reward. That's what Atzilut is about. So a human being who serves God with all their heart and all their might, and they are perfect, they reach Beria, they do not reach Atzilut. The rabbi is going to then talk about a prayer. I told you everything is divided into four, right? Prayer, and I think I shared with you, is also divided into four parts. We call it the ladder of prayer with four rungs. The first one is called hoidu. You know what hoidu means? Huh?
Praise.
No. No, admission. Hodu can be toda, thank you, is from that same root. Hodu la Hashem kiru bishmo. So one way to understand that is thank God and call his name. The Kabbalah interpretation is admit to God and call his name. Then admit all your wrongdoing. That's a siyah, because you're challenged and you fall and get up, fall and get up. So the beginning of prayer, what do? It's a siyah. The first part is to admit that I am not perfect. That's the gateway. That's the first universe. Then comes the word of Yetzirah. Remember we talked about the Yetzirah is animals, it's emotions. That part is called Psuke de Zimra, songs, verses of song. Zimra is singing, right? Harry, you know Zimra? Zemer is a singing. In other words, it's emotional. Remember we said the heart is the second universe where angels are. When the natural serving of God goes to the soul, that's the second. Psuke de Zimra, from Baruch She'amar, from Psuke de Zimra, until Shema and the blessings. That's the second rung, where you elevate from the entrance to the emotional connection to God. Shema is the world of Beria, the third universe, when you use brains. That's why I told you many times, according to Kabbalah, when you say the Shema, you should be seated. You sit down. Because the world of Beria, Ezekiel prophesies, he saw God sitting on his throne in the world of Beria. It's all about intelligence. Intelligence, you have to relax. When you are singing and excited, you can be standing, you can be dancing. It does not disturb the expression of the emotion. When you are contemplating an idea, you need a quiet place and you need to sit down. If you're standing while you're contemplating, you are not going to be able to do it for a long time, because your mind needs to have the body relaxed to a point that it does not disturb the brain from thinking. Ali, are you following me? Then comes the Amida. You know what Amida is? Atzilut. That's why it's called the prayer of silence. Have you heard the prayer of silence? Lachash. The Amida, that prayer of 19 blessings, 19 blessings, why is it called Amida? Because the word standing is La'amod, the prayer that you must stand. Another name to Amida is Shmoneh Esrei. What does Shmoneh Esrei means? 18. But the other name to it, and that's in Jewish law, Lachash, Tfilas Lachash. Who is the one who taught us how to pray the Amidah? Hannah, mother of Shmuel, that she was very silent, but her lips were moving, right? We say it on Rosh Hashanah. רק שפתיה נאות וקולה לא נשמע. Only her lips were moving, and the voice was not heard. That's why Amida is derived from Hannah. Hannah, that lady, the mother of Samuel, is the one who is teaching us the proper way to pray the Amida. Why is it called quiet prayer? How come you're not quiet on Shema or Psuki de Zimra or Hodu? Because Atzilut is emanation. There is no entity there. So as soon as you start making noise, you separated yourself from God, like the ocean that covers all its creatures. As soon as a fish jumps out of the water into the dry land, it's gone, it's dead. That's why it's called Lochash. Harry, do you understand that? Is this too much like that? No.
Good to very. Very good to. What do you see?
Very good today.
I should say that last 2 weeks, last 2 lessons, I saw that I'm about to lose you and I don't want you to stop studying. So I took my time to prepare. And this is the world of Atzilut. Atzilut is considered like water that covers the ocean. Atzilut is emanation and not a separate entity. No soul will get to Atzilut except during the Amida prayer. You get a glimpse to connect there. And that's why I came to our women, to Hannah. I think last lesson I told you that for women, the connection to God, the bond with God is a much more natural than men. Anybody remember I said it last time?
Yeah.
Hannah is our teacher, not for Shema. Shema is Yaakov, right? Shema Israel, hero Israel. Israel is the name of Jacob. The Psuki de Zimra is King David. Most of the prayers there, Vayvarech David, Hallelujah, Ashrei is King David. Amida, 18 blessings, is Hannah, because the real bond with God is achieved through the women to a much more natural way than men. So therefore, we try to learn from her and do it right. At that time, we can connect to Atzilut just momentarily. Is that clear? Do I have to summarize the summary or you got it? Herman, do you understand?
Got it. I think. I do.
Here it is. We are holding on page 3. I want to read some text because I want to move. Next week, if we finish Atzilut, we're going to talk Asiya, the first universe. But now you're becoming masters of the 3 universes. No one explained it as well as the Rebbe. Because all the Hasidim, they study Tanya. Because that's the best and the only place you discover properly the 4 universes. And now this is a very difficult, challenging chapters, those from 39 as we'll get, but you get a good understanding of the universes. So now we have covered the 2, formation and creation we covered before. Tonight we covered Atzilut. Now you understand what Atzilut, emanation is. This contraction,
What page?
page 564, right on top. This contraction, which Chabad of Atzilut undergo in order to radiate in Bria, thus causes the souls in the world of Bria to be illuminated by a glow of Chabad of the Ein Sof. That is, Chabad of Atzilut. It is this contraction that enables them to have some perception of the Ein Sof light. What the Rabbi is saying, this is another concept we didn't have time to delve into, and I don't think we're going to do it today. is that when I am connecting to the Ein Sof, to the 10 attributes of Asiya, they are directly connected to the 10 attributes of Yetzira, of formation, which is directly connected to Beria, to creation, which is directly connected to the Emanation. So when I connect to Ein Sof, to God, in Asiya, even though there was action with no intention, I am touching godliness directly coming down all the way to many, many changes, but it comes down in its purity to the world, to the lowest level. The created intellectual beings of Beria cannot, however, apprehend Chabad as they are, in all their admitted intensity, in the world of Atzilut, where the Chabad are not contracted so much to such a great degree as in Bria. That's why the souls belong to Bria is the highest, but no more. I'm skipping the commentary. Therefore, their thought cannot grasp there at all. That is, the thought and intellect of the created beings of Beria can in no way grasp the light radiating in Atzilut. For this reason, Atzilut is the abode of the great tzaddikim, whose service of God is far superior even to fear and love, derived from understanding and knowing His greatness. As I told you, Atzilut is for the very far and in between. Very few who have mastered perfect connection to God, where they have nothing of their own, only God. Just as Atzilut transcends by far the level of the understanding and knowledge of a created being's intellect, their service is rather on the level of an actual chariot of the blessed Ein Sof. I think I touched upon chariot. Nullifying their very existence before Him and incorporating themselves and all that they possess within His light, through the observance of the Torah and the mitzvot. Our sages applied such a description to the patriarchs, saying that they themselves constituted the divine chariot, for this was the patriarchs' level of service throughout their lives. But he whose soul's root is of too limited capacity for this perfect service, and the level of a chariot, so that through his service of Torah and mitzvot, he be constantly nullified before and absorbed in God light, says the Rebbe, and he can therefore attain this state only intermittently and only at times of divine favor on high. Very few times, for example, such as during Shmoneh Esrei prayer, the prayer of the Amidah, which is at the level of Atzilut, the 4 rungs of the ladder that I shared with you. So the Hodu until Baruch She'amar. That's why as Sephardic Jews and the Arizal and those who follow Kabbalah, we start Hodu. Ashkenazic Jews start Baruch She'amar, they start the second section. We start the first because the first is to admit you're wrong, that you're not perfect, that you failed. The second one, you connect with your emotion. The third one, with your intelligence. The fourth one, no connection. You are totally nullified before God. That's why that prayer must be standing, and that must be a silent prayer. No noise, don't make noise. And especially when bowing in the 4 designated places in this prayer, for every such act of bowing represent a level of Atzilut, as is written in Pri-Eitz Chaim, and in the section dealing with the welcoming of Shabbat. We're not going to talk about it, but in the prayer that you bow down twice at the start of the Amidah and twice at the end of the Amidah. It's represent also 4 types, and they all are part of Atzilut. 4, it embodies the idea of self-nullification in God's light, to be accounted as absolutely not before Him. In the case of he who can attain the level of a chariot, only at such propitious times, then even at these times the principal abode of his soul is in the world of Beria, for we are dealing here with a soul associated with the world of Beria, and only occasionally at a time of divine favor will his soul rise to Atzilut as feminine waters, as is known to the student of the Kabbalah. And we will stop right here. So we have covered Atzilut to the best of our ability. And next week, we are going to talk about Atzilut, Asiya, the first universe and its power.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you,
everyone.
Rabbi.
Good night.
Fine to watch.